called overcompensating through staying busy. The other one we don't talk about is indirect suicide. We see that all the time amongst our men. Doing suicidal behavior. They're suicidal emotionally, but they done been taught. See, one of the things we taught well in the community and through the church is you don't commit suicide no matter what. And our community had taken that seriously. Now it's changed. But that's why our numbers was always low, even though we were suffering. And so, indirect suicide, it's easy to do indirect suicide when you're living in a racist state, because now all I gotta do is mess with an inadequate individual with a gun, and they'll take my life. Suicide by cop, suicide by thug. It's all the same. Matter of fact, suicide by thug is more common. We call that reflective trauma. I look at you because I don't feel good about me. I have no problem taking your life because I don't think much of mine. And then we want to be surprised by the approaches we're taking dealing with boys, men, and young people and all that. That don't work because you don't want to get down to the dirt. The fact that what we're looking at, we contribute to. So that indirect suicide, I just don't care. I don't care no more. I got young people who've been scared so long, they're numb. They're just numb. So survival stress management is another sign of the emotion. What do I mean? Living in the moments. Using sex for stress management. If you use sex for stress management, you're going to have more babies than you can afford and you can handle. Use fast money for stress management. All that, when you live in the moment, you have to repeat it over and over again. And it don't even matter if you're a therapist. So I've seen dietitians, when they get stressed out, go get a big chocolate cake and go watch some god-awful reality show. And then about 6 hours ago, telling everybody else they should do the opposite. Okay? So that living in the moment, you have to, again, we can list all this stuff, food. We see it. We see it. Well, I want none of that grass, man. I want the food to make me feel good. So if I want the food to make me feel good, I'm probably not going to eat the most healthiest thing unless I started that way. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know it. It's like therapists. Some of the worst patients in the world are therapists. Therapists and doctors. They were awful. Okay? We're going to get into why they were awful. But you get my point here, I hope. So when we talk about how that early pain is shaped, when we talk about how that early pain shapes our lives as adults, these three areas, there's more, but these three are big. You know why they're big? Because they're socially acceptable by the mainstream to hide your pain. One more time. They're socially acceptable by the mainstream to hide your pain. Perfectionism. Who's a perfectionist most hard on? Themselves. Who don't want to be around perfectionists? They're kids. We used to sing the pain clinic all the time. And yeah, I see the young people like, yeah, I know my daddy and my mama. See, I see them, they're all smiling. He right. And it would show up during chronic pain because now because you got pain, you can't do everything. Because you know perfectionists ain't going to let you help. And then if they do let you help, they're going to go back behind you and redo it. And I used to meet with the family. We used to have the family come in the second week, and we would split the family away from the patients, and I would deal with the family. And the kids loved me because I talk crazy to the kids. Right? And then we had a lot of folks from out of Minnesota, which was interesting. You know, I remember one instance I'm talking to the family and talking about their anger. Because the kids will tell you, yeah, they're angry. I try to help them. You go back and change the stuff. And then they get mad because, you know, when I don't help them. And then when they ask me when I don't help them, they get mad because I told them. And so the heck with them. And my daddy, the men were real bad because we're talking about workaholics. Okay? They ain't home before. Now all of a sudden they want to run everything. And the kids were saying, you ain't home, now you want to give us a curfew that we didn't have with mama? Oh, it was because pain, that pain was tearing up, and it was more the emotional. Right? Workaholic, all or nothing. Stay busy. I was being a good workaholic. I wasn't a good husband the first time around. I was a good workaholic. I was a great provider. I made a lot of money being a workaholic. And then when they would complain about me not being at home, I would say, remember that washer and dryer you got that you didn't have to wait for? Yeah, I wasn't nice. Because I was more comfortable at work than I was being at the house. Because I was raised by a man like that. That's all he thought he was worth was the physical piece. Okay? So think about how we hide behind these. Like the caretaker. You know, some of the best nurses I've ever dealt with got the most sucky life in the world. We had one nurse, she was great with the patients. Her boyfriend beating her up on a regular basis at home, her life, but being a caretaker, at least I can help you. I'd rather be in your business than to deal with my own, which is detrimental to our profession. And we see it all the time. That's why some folks, that's why a lot of therapists got into this, because they were trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And so, but again, on the surface, these don't look bad. Oh, I'm just a perfectionist, and we just go along with the crap. Right? But we're trying to deal with our pain. So lay it out even more. Perfectionism. Rigid thinking, external control, seeking approval to feel okay. That's where our perfectionism come from. Trying to get my daddy to say I was okay. It never happened. Well, it did kind of towards the end. Because then I didn't care. It was interesting how that happened. Right? Now all of a sudden I don't care. And he had a problem with that. He said, why are you mad at me no more? Because he got so used to me being mad at him, he didn't know how to handle the fact that, Daddy, you're good. I moved on. You did the best you could. But he was so comfortable with me being angry. And when he would get intoxicated, he would start crying and talk about brother who like getting intoxicated and start talking about why I don't like them. Because I was taking care of myself. Like I said, the caretaker, the workaholism, stay busy, I want to stay on time. So when we talk about impacting our physically and spiritually with exhaustion, chronic stress, neglect self, avoid reflection, and eventually the body breaks down. Spiritual pain. Ooh. Spiritual pain. Loss of meaning, purpose, and connection. Not just religion, the sense of something greater. See, we got to broaden our ideals about this whole idea of spirituality. And like Carmen was saying earlier, we're spiritual people to start. And we have to keep that broad idea. Because you know, the thing is, you know, I do this work and all like that, but because I'm not a member of anybody's church, some folks want to question me. And now that I'm an old man, good looking old man, you know I got to get one of them meetings. all these old dudes who's trying to find God for themselves want to, oh man, brother, you need to find God. Man, look, I'm doing okay. Okay? I don't know what you're doing, but I'm doing okay. I think you're trying to find your go in. I'm not worried. Are you? Okay? Get on my nerves. Do all kind of church all of a sudden. Now close your eyes. You want to find them. It's okay. You can find them anytime. But even those who don't necessarily believe in God, often a sense of something greater. So again, broaden that idea. So I look at the Spirit as a potted light. Think about a water heater. Water's cold unless there's a potted light. Right? And when you call on it, it gives you heat. Right? I see the Spirit like that. Okay? And then flickering under stress goes out with the loss of hope, goes cold. Think about this. I'm not doing well physically. I'm not doing well emotionally. Now I'm trying to put all that pressure on my spiritual being. It's not quite working. Because the person know how to be happy. See, this is my grandmother. My mother's mother. Pretty woman, right? Yeah, pretty black woman. I did not like her. She was not nice. She wasn't nice to us at all. My brother sitting there shaking his head, yeah, he's right. And the thing about learning about trauma helped me understand her better. We're talking about somebody who never was able to be happy considering the trauma in her life. Early trauma. She had one arm. The story was, it might have been diabetes, but there's another story that she was in an accident with my pretty grandfather, they were fussing about some other woman because he was, my grandfather, you go to a funeral, and you might meet a new nephew, a new niece. I got nieces and nephews, a whole, they're like grandparents, okay? And so my grandmother, she had a thing with my mama. And my mama looked a lot like my granddaddy. And my grandmother didn't treat her well, didn't treat us well, but treated her other daughter differently. You see that in families and stuff. Okay? But she never seemed to be happy. And unfortunately, later on, my mama was the same way. Okay? And so the story around my grandmother, so she's got physical ailments. She's not happy. She goes to the hospital. And she dies. And the doctor's shocked because the thing is she was doing well. And we've seen this. But she was tired. Not in the sense of just being tired, but fully tired. Kind of like that. So when we're talking about this signs of spiritual pain, emptiness, okay? Walking Dead, I see that. You ever seen a person that you could almost look through them and they look empty? We see it. It's around us. I see it in my group. That's how I know they're doing better, because the emptiness goes away. You look in the eyes, because we always got these programs that want you to do evaluations, give clients evaluations. Our clients ain't doing no doggone evaluation. And I tell the truth. When I did a project in the prison, and they allowed me to film it, because I told them, I can prove to you the group was good if you let me film it. Not the group, but the interview. We asked 4 questions at the beginning. We asked the same 4 questions at the end. And you could literally see a major difference. We had a guy guy who had 4 life sentences in my group. He did the interview down, just looking down. Nice guy. Did the interview at the end and said, I am much happier. You can see it on his face. And I said, well, why are you happy? He says, now I can explain to my kids why I'm in here. Because we broke down the trauma. He didn't know he was traumatized. From his ideas of what a man should be, the idea that he should not have his trauma addressed because he's a man. But he literally, that blew me away. He literally said, because I used to bring in homework, and he says, I've been sending the homework to my kids and having family meetings. He said, this will help me help my boys not be here with me. You would think we would continue to be doing that, right? We're not. Because we only have funding for things that the people in power get to decide. Because they know everything. Right? Even about us. Yeah, I know who. That's the problem. Yeah. We're going to talk about that real quick before I leave. We can't let them off the hook. So what's the obstacle? There we go. What's the obstacles to healing? Not dealing with the truth of the past is the privilege of some. Privilege of some. It's really not a privilege for anybody, but it's a privilege for some because some believe they deserve that privilege. And suffering for others and making healing difficult for all. So, community. The village that hides the truth cannot expect to heal, but to pass on the pain. We got to quit lying to ourselves. Talking about traumatized. We won't even deal with the beginning of our traumatized because we done been ashamed to deal with our own trauma. Think about that. We've been ashamed to deal with our own trauma. And that's across the board. It's not just with black folks, it's for many different groups. So now if you're ashamed to deal with your trauma, are you going to deal with it? Not necessarily. Because we're told if you deal with your trauma, you're weak. That's when I changed the word from pain to trauma, oh man, I got all kind of pushback. Especially from the community. Why are you talking about that? Because you need to. Okay, so, you continue to distrust the system. We rely on faith, resilience, and resign that black life is suffering. That's how we found a way to convince ourselves that if you black, you're going to suffer. And then when they don't suffer, I have had clients more or less ask me, almost like, are you going to be mean to me? No, you know how to be mean. Do you understand? Especially men, and black men in particular, we know how to be punished. Because we get that more than we get love, even from our own community. Okay? And then you want us to love you and be okay with that. We think about it's more important to provide services to others than self-care. Think about it. In our community, in a lot of communities, you get more credit for taking care of everybody else than take care of yourself. And so why would I? Because think about it. Who is the saddest person at an activist, a community activist funeral? Their family. Because they're gone. Right? I remember I had a client who said, man, Mr. Simmons, you do a lot of stuff in the community, and I want to be like you. I don't know why you would do that. But okay, that means. Well, I would do more in the community. I said, he said, what can I do? I said, we can start by taking care of your 4 kids. Y'all know me. You know, he was not happy. What you talking about? I said, man, look, you taking care of your 4 kids will do a lot to help the community. See, you want to do stuff where you get praised by other folks. Because that's what we do. Because we like to parade. We like to be seen. And at the same time, not be heard. And be okay with that. No. I got to take care of me. No is a full sentence. Not me. No. My guys, they think that's a great thing. My guys think that's a new idea. Hey guys, no is a full sentence. Stop, roll, no. Okay? Slow yourself down. And they think it's the simple thought, but they think it's the greatest thing nobody's ever told them. Nobody ever had a conversation with them about this stuff. You know, I know a lot of the women I know have conversations about some of this stuff, but even them are in the okie doke. Because we done got this new generation of women who done took on a lot of the behavior of the men to get back at them, and they're suffering too. Mm-hmm. And then we don't think nothing about trauma, male trauma. Misguided loyalty in the community and the family. What goes on here stays in here. Right? I'm part of the community. I'm part of the hood. And what the hood done for you lately? Okay? So we got to get a balance. See, one of the things about, we need a balance. We talk about collective ideals, but sometimes we take that and discount people individually. So we really have to get a balance on that. What do I mean by that? Say we got Uncle George, deacon of the church. He passed. We're going to have a homegoing. Sally, we ain't seen her in 15 years. She show up. Everybody said, what's she doing here? And now we all whispering. When the whole room whisper, you can hear the roar. Okay? And she just smiled. Go sit in the corner. After the service, you know, all the deacons in the county and stuff then came out, and we got the greatest home going. And, you know, like 4 hours later, the women go in one room and the men go in another. Sally go in the room with the women, walk out, and all you hear is screams. You know why? Because Uncle George had violated 3 generations of the girls in the family. They were more worried about Uncle George's reputation than they was them children. So when people talk to me about a collective idea, we gotta get balanced. See, we get a whole, we across the board, we got to start being more flexible, quit being so scared. Because we keep repeating stuff or putting new words on it. And then think we can't see it and feel it. And then on top of that, what makes it difficult is the community's needs can be so deep that it makes it more difficult. If you deny the people, people their own voice, you'll have no idea who they were. So organizationally, it continues with their bias and culturally incompetence. Okay? And you know what continues to make it culturally incompetent is the fact that the system don't want to listen to you and won't tell you how you're supposed to be different. Okay? And then when you bring up things that might be a benefit, the first thing they want to talk to you about is, oh, you're trying to, are you calling me racist? No, I'm talking about a problem. I'm not wasting my time with you trying to decide if you're racist or not. I don't really care about that until it affects me. You can be all you want to be, but you're affecting my people and folks who look like me and other folks. You don't have the answers to everything because we'd be better off if we might have, but all your answers is about you. So, think they have a right to emotional comfort. Think about how often, if I know in my experience, folks in charge, uncomfort has gotten me fired. Not actually fired, I just walked out. Don't wait to fire me. Should insult me. Okay? Discriminatory attitudes against men and boys. Parallel trauma. Let me tell you what parallel trauma, we kind of touched on it earlier, is we got a whole bunch of traumatized staff. And we are not addressing it. Staff is bringing their trauma into the house because the clients we deal with now are much more traumatized than they've been in the past. And so then we let our feelings get all in, and then our trauma, we're trying to deal with our trauma through your trauma. Back to that caretaker. Corrective, punitive approaches without compassion actually makes trauma worse. And core beliefs even worse. Think about this. If I have these negative beliefs about men, okay? If I have these negative beliefs about men and I don't have no compassion, that means that I'm going to punish them, and guess what it does to their trauma? Makes it worse. Seriously, you don't care. You're not looking at men as human beings. See things in terms of good and bad and black and white. You can't deal with no gray. The answer is in the gray, but the gray takes work. The gray takes personal inventory about why you get in the way. Because, look at it. Believing that poverty is a simple result of lack of education. Now, people say, well, we don't think like that. No, y'all done got it more perfected. Coming with simple ideas because it ain't yours. This stuff ain't simple. The simple part is sometimes we just need to tell the truth. That's the simple part. That's the most difficult, but that's the simple part. Tell the truth, get out the way. Power hoarding. That's where we're at. Assuming that they know what's best. Assuming that they know what's best and see little value in power sharing. And so when they don't think it's best, and they are forced, now think about this, when they're forced to take your ideal, have you ever noticed that they will sabotage it? So that if the bosses say, we're going with that ideal, and that middle manager don't want it to happen, it ain't happening. And if it does, it's going to be raggedy because of their personal animus. And on top of that, people up top know it's been happening because it happens all the time and do nothing about it and then sit up and act like they don't know nothing. Well, they've been here for 30 years. Well, Jade, I've been here 29 too, man. Okay, selective compassion. Oh, I like that. Human compassion is equal to human cruelty. It is up to each of us to tip the balance. Compassion and accountability. Accountability without compassion is cruel. Doesn't leave room for understanding grace. It allows for quiet comfort, security, complacency, self-righteousness, and people who are just content with status quo, while being unaware of or indifferent to the impact of other people. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. And the idea that you get to decide who deserves compassion and who don't. So now we're othering. America has always been them and us. If nothing else, in 250 years, we should start telling the truth. then we all can get better. It's always been them and us. This is which one is us and which one is them. And it changes periodically. But in my community, we think we've been them for a long time. We've been them for a long time. So, then you get the opposite. Compassion without accountability. We see that a lot too. You know, you'll get community programs try to make up for all the stuff that the other programs, the mainstream programs are doing, and then mess around and cause more problems themselves. You need accountability with compassion. It takes work. The reason it's so hard is we have to do a personal evaluation about where we're at with this. That means that you got to make decisions with thoughts. Okay? So now, we got chaos, inconsistent boundaries, leaving you see, some of us like people being dependent on us. Remember back to the caretakers? You know, I tell my clients, you know, my job is not to like you. My job is not to harm you. That's very different. Do you understand? Yeah. Okay, we're almost done. Because I'm tired. So now we got the emotional othering. You know, savior complex, pity, right? That's what Minnesota nice is to me. Did you hear me? Yeah. See, I remember, you know, we're getting a lot of folks credit for Minnesota nice. Minnesota nice hasn't always been nice for people of color. Because of this. This people. Oh, we gotta take care of you poor babies. And you know, y'all don't know how to make decisions on your own. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the situation you're in. And we love you as long as you don't marry my daughter.
Or their son.
Oh, their son, yeah. So how do we meet the challenge? Culture does not change because we desire it to change. Culture change when an organization is transformed. The culture reflects the realities of the people working together every day. Ponder that. So organizations, we're going to start with you first. There isn't true equity without people in power being willing to be uncomfortable and sit in it. Not no 2 years we're going to give up on, being nice to people of color. Oh, we're tired of suffering now. This has been a difficult time. And I don't really think it's really working very well anyway. And I've heard a couple people of color complain about it, so I think we should end this. Yeah. Because we're tired of, basically just saying you're tired of being uncomfortable with the truth. That's okay, I can handle that. And that's the thing, people can handle the truth. It might not feel good, but people can handle the truth. And if they can't, too bad. So it shouldn't be business as usual. We should validate the impact and historical trauma and its legacy. Especially if we talk about best practice. How do you have a best practice when you make me do a practice and I have to modify it to deal with my clients? Is it still best practice? When Samson would allow me into the building, I asked him that 10 years ago, and they said they'd get back to me. I'm still waiting. Because they knew what I was saying. And then they punish us when we make their modifications, depending on how they feel. They all trump us. You know, get your little feelings hurt, then you want to go at us. Then people been Trump for a long time. He just doing it more blatantly. This ain't new. Okay. Now they include people in decisions, back to those punitive approaches, especially when we're dealing with men. So we have to raise our awareness of male trauma, create safe spaces to talk about everything. Do you understand? When they talk about safe spaces, they're not talking about men. My men don't feel like they have any safe spaces, to be honest. Because, when we talk about their emotion, now they say it feels safe in our group, eventually. But when you get men and you get them to a point where they start talking about their feelings and they go back and the woman laughs at them.
That's a slapping thing.
Okay? And it happens a lot. What you being all emotional for? Well, 2 years ago I was beating your ass. But now I'm learning how to be better, and now you got a problem? Huh? I know, it's just that blatant. Okay. And then people doing this work, they got to deal with their own biases. Again, back to that traumatized people. You come in with your fears and your biases and all this other kind of stuff, and then you really dictate my life. The other thing about our system, we deal, as it was mentioned before, we are born into suffering. But in our communities, nonprofit work has been built on suffering. Think about that. So if we're talking about investing in the community, we have to do some real investing, not that short-term investing, because when you invest through nonprofits, that ain't long-term money. It's interesting, long-term money show up when the complexion of the community changes. No, it's got to be the opposite. You got the money, but again, one thing about our current leadership, they approve when you want to buy something, you got the money, even when you say you broke.
Oh, yeah.
And we have that in this state a lot, to the point where they're sending back millions of dollars every year instead of trying to find some way to use that money to make things better. Well, do you understand? Now I'm getting ready to get ugly. Now you understand that this conference barely gets paid for this year because nobody wanted to invest in it. And then we have folks ask us to take black off the name.
What?
And some of them were black people. Okay? So that's scary stuff. That's scary stuff. And then want to be all. I remember I was at a meeting, and one of the state people came to the meeting and started talking about, because they had to do the evaluations. Oh, the feds got us doing it. We feel so bad about what's going on. And I said, well, what are you going to do when you're done with the feds? Because it wasn't going that well before the feds came in. So you're going to reevaluate that? They stopped talking to me. Some of the people who was at the meeting was like, yeah, they did. They ran up out there. See, that's what the youngsters keep inviting me to y'all meetings. Now I know what y'all be doing. Okay, we can't heal what you don't reveal. So as in terms of the community, we got to begin our healing acknowledging that something is happening and it's still happening. We also got to find out that self-care is good. It's not selfish.
No.
And no is a full sentence. And we need to include our family in that, most of all.
Oh, yes.
Okay? Stop trying to get others to do their work. That's not your work.
Right.
They got to do their work.
Yes.
Unfortunately, sometimes we can't afford to wait for them to do their work, but they got to do their work. Okay? It's about parents. We need to spend more time helping parents deal with their trauma so they can quit traumatizing our children. One more time. We have to help parents deal with their trauma so they can quit traumatizing our children, and we need to include fathers.
Yep.
You can't, if you got a family on the name of your organization and you don't deal with men, you need to change the name. Because you done told fathers, we ain't part of the family. And community leadership need to do their own role modeling of getting healing. There's a lot of broken community leaders out here. And and they use their brokenness to be a community leader. Okay? It's about what happened to you, not what's wrong with you.
That's right. That's good.
Okay. So now, this is one of my other pet peeves. Resilience. Oh, give us the black folks. They're resilient. We can do whatever we want to them. We have to get to thriving. It's time for thriving. You can't thrive if you keep lying. Okay? You hold on to old ideals and call it culture, and it's killing you. Some of what we call culture are just survival methods. Trauma responses. But once you put culture on it, then that collective idea will come in with the negative. Oh man, we're part of the culture. Yeah, but the culture is killing women and children. We're part of the culture. It's killing you too. But who cut the culture? Go keep the culture going. I know, I'm old. He's never going to well, he's old. He don't know. So thriving takes work. Recycling what we don't longer need and bringing back the stuff that we gave away. Holistic healing. Holistic healing is about approaches to health, treatment, whatever. So there's the body. We got to feed it well, movement. We can use other natural therapies. The mind. 10 ways to keep the brain healthy. I'll make these slides available on this website after the conference, okay?
Thank you.
God knows, I got a whole lot of information on it. That's my biggest love. Okay, dealing with your soul. Over. So, it's very important that we do not exclude that. If your physical health wasn't in the same condition as your spiritual health, how healthy would you be?
Ooh, that's so good.
And then we don't talk about this enough.
Yeah.
Okay? Relationships.
Yeah.
And we're talking about mutually supportive relationships. That's a hard word for my clients. Mutually supportive. What do you mean by mutually supportive? Oh, that means that you gotta participate too. That okay? Because you keep telling me what everything she ain't doing. I ain't hearing nothing you did.
See.
Other than the fact that you're in my group because of a fight. So now you ain't telling me more. Okay? So we're talking about all this stuff here. Boundaries. We got folks who are in relationship, they're trauma bonded. They're bonded over trauma.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is the preventative pyramid and healing, clean diet, exercise, rest within spirituality, gratitude, friendship, and contact with nature. Compassion and accountability. This is what we're talking about, doing both. The approach is based on compassion, accountability, and dignity can build connections and keep people involved and increase the likelihood of their success. It can breathe life and credibility into a home or organization or a community. So when I think about healing, acknowledge the pain, reflect the past, and take responsibility. Ain't a whole lot deeper than that. I'm in the simple black man. I just pretty. Finally, pain touches our mind, body, and soul. Healing requires confronting all three. It's time to confront all the pain.